Look around you carefully. Right now, you're probably sitting in a room filled with comfort and controlled temperature. You carry access to the collective knowledge of humanity inside your pocket, and food arrives at your door with a single click. We call this progress. We call this the peak of civilization. But history calls it a death sentence. There's a hidden flaw inside the human equation, a paradox that has silently buried every superpower that has ever walked this earth. Empires do not collapse when times become difficult. They collapse when life becomes too easy. The moment survival becomes guaranteed, a strange psychological decay begins settling into the collective mind of a nation. Muscle turns into fat. Vigilance turns into apathy. And the relentless hunger that once built the empire slowly transforms into soft, entitled minds demanding luxury without sacrifice. Today we are going to decode the most terrifying equation of all, the comfort trap. 700 years ago, a brilliant historian named Ibn Khaldun sat within the deserts of the Arab world and noticed a terrifying pattern. He realized that civilizations, much like biological organisms, possess a lifespan of their own, and that lifespan was dictated almost entirely by cycles of comfort. He divided this cycle into 4 distinct generations. The first generation is forged in the fire of harsh reality. They possess nothing. They live in brutal conditions surrounded by enemies. In order to survive, they are forced to develop absolute trust, extreme physical endurance, and a shared sense of purpose. They do not even understand what comfort means. They are the ones who build the foundation. Then comes the second generation. They watch their parents bleed. They inherit the harsh kingdom and expand it further. Hardship still lives inside their memory, which is why they preserve their strength. But slowly, they begin tasting the first rewards of stability. And then, the equation changes. The third generation is born directly into comfort. They did not build the walls. They did not fight the wars. To them, peace, wealth, and dominance are no longer achievements to be earned, but natural rights they were born into. They begin focusing on art, luxury, and internal politics. The collective instinct for survival is gradually replaced by individual pleasure. And finally, we arrive at the 4th generation. The generation of decay. They become completely consumed by luxury, physically fragile, mentally soft, politically divided. And when crisis finally arrives, whether through financial collapse, plague, or enemies standing at the gates, they no longer know how to sacrifice. They no longer know how to fight. The nation was never conquered from the outside. It was hollowed out from within, by the deadliest weapon known to civilization, a comfortable life. Now let us look at Rome. Not the Rome of emperors, but the Rome that truly built the ancient world. In its earliest days, Roman citizens were stoic farmers. If the Republic demanded war, the farmer dropped his plow, picked up his sword, and marched directly into the mud. They survived on basic rations. Hardship was not temporary for them. It was an identity. Rome defeated Hannibal not because it possessed superior technology, but because Romans could endure suffering longer than anyone else. But centuries later, victory brought unimaginable wealth, and wealth brought unprecedented comfort. Suddenly, Roman citizens no longer wished to work the fields. They no longer wish to fight inside the legions. Why bleed inside the frozen forests of Germania, when you could remain in Rome enjoying public baths and endless entertainment? The emperors soon realized something dangerous. A comfortable and idle population becomes unstable. And if people become bored, They eventually revolt. So Rome invented the ultimate distraction, panem et circenses, bread and circuses. The state began distributing free grain alongside endless violent entertainment inside the Colosseum. The descendants of the most relentless conquerors on earth slowly transformed into entitled consumers, pacified by cheap food and spectacle resembling the distractions of the modern digital age. And when the Germanic tribes finally crossed the Rhine, they did not encounter the iron-willed Romans of old. They encountered a civilization paralyzed by its own luxury. The collective spine of the empire had been surgically removed by comfort itself. You may think this is merely a political problem unique to humans, but science eventually demonstrated that this pattern behaves almost like a universal biological law. During the 1960s, a researcher named John Calhoun created an artificial universe known as Universe 25. It was designed as a utopian habitat for mice. Every threat had been eliminated. No predators, no disease, unlimited food and water, absolute comfort. What happened next should terrify every modern civilization. Once struggle disappeared entirely, the mice slowly stopped behaving like mice. The social structure collapsed. A class of male mice emerged that researchers later called the beautiful ones. They never fought, never defended territory, never attempted reproduction. They spent their entire existence doing only two things: eating and grooming themselves. They became physically flawless, but psychologically empty. Eventually, the female stopped reproducing entirely. The population collapsed, and despite infinite resources and total comfort, Universe 25 became extinct, extinction, through utopia. Because when struggle is removed from a biological organism, you also remove its reason to evolve. You remove its soul. Now let us bring this equation into the modern world. We look back at ancient Rome or Universe 25 and tell ourselves that was them. We are different. We have technology. But are we really? Look carefully at modern civilization. We outsourced physical labor to machines. Then we outsourced memory itself to algorithms. Now millions of people live surrounded by systems specifically engineered to keep the human mind trapped inside a permanent state of passive stimulation. We created a society where discomfort is treated as a system failure instead of a necessary catalyst for growth. We are now living at the peak of the third generation, and luxury is intoxicating, but the fourth generation is always waiting silently within the shadows. History leaves behind a brutal and unforgiving equation. Hard times create strong people. Strong people create prosperous societies. Prosperous societies create weak people, and weak people create hard times once again. The warning signs are already flashing all around us. The comfort has arrived. The only question left is this: will we possess the strength to walk away from the feast before the palace finally collapses? But perhaps the most dangerous part of comfort is that it blinds societies to their own fragility. Because decline rarely feels dramatic while it is happening, most civilizations do not recognize collapse in real time. The streets still look normal, the lights still turn on, the markets still function, people still go to work, entertainment still fills the screens, and so the population assumes the system is stable, but underneath the surface, the psychological foundations may already be collapsing. History shows this pattern again and again. The final generations of declining civilizations often become obsessed with distraction. Short-term pleasure replaces long-term thinking. People begin avoiding responsibility, sacrifice, and discomfort at almost any cost, and slowly entire societies lose the resilience required to survive serious crisis. This is why comfort can become so dangerous. Not because comfort itself is evil, but because humans adapt to comfort extremely quickly. Luxury stops feeling like a privilege. It starts feeling like a basic human right. And once societies become psychologically dependent on endless convenience, even small disruptions begin creating chaos. A financial crisis, a supply shortage, political instability, inflation, social division, problems that older generations may have endured with resilience, suddenly begin psychologically overwhelming modern populations. And perhaps this explains why so many technologically advanced societies today still feel deeply anxious and unstable. Because material progress alone does not guarantee psychological strength. Civilizations survive through discipline, shared identity, meaning, responsibility, resilience. Without those foundations, prosperity itself can slowly become self-destructive. And maybe that is the strangest lesson hidden throughout history. Human beings spend thousands of years trying to escape hardship. Yet once hardship completely disappears, civilizations often begin collapsing under the weight of their own comfort. History has already seen this cycle many times before. The terrifying question is whether modern civilization is intelligent enough to recognize the pattern before it repeats once again.